right, welcome back to the show. We've got week 10 look back, week 11 look ahead for you guys this week. But first, we are going to get into last week's results, which was Rivalry Week. So we have some awards, yearly awards that we were giving out, same as last year. So Tim, take it away.
Yes, this is cue the award music, cue the champagne. This is
Bum, 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 bum.
bum 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 bum. The winner of the Golden Anus
Oh
is
yeah.
the Love Struck Romeos, Sam
Also,
Brokaws team.
our number one point scorer for the week, Sam, coming in at 153.48. Just absolutely dominating a lackluster Drew team. Only getting 70 points, so more than doubled his score. Just absolute domination. He is the golden anus.
Congratulations on having a gilded butt. The next award, the Golden Bandana, which I cannot remember why we called it the Golden Bandana Award, but that's between Wes and Kranz, and Wes comes out on top that one.
Yeah, and we've got Wes at 93.44 points on that. Kranz coming in at 79.6. So another pretty easy victory there for Wes, helped out by Saquon Barkley's 22.5 points.
And then the Dust Bowl, the Arizona Bowl, the Golden Cactus Award goes to Ross, who, despite having a Cooper Cup injury that's going to affect his team in the future, does come out on top of this rivalry.
12.34 for Ross, 100.6 for Kiss. Tight game. Mahomes put him over the top, 31.14 points for Mahomes. Ross, even like you said, with that Cooper Cup injury, able to get some top performances out of his players. Jeff Wilson pickup looks great. He came in with another over 20-point performance. Ross outlast Lucas.
Nicely done, Ross. And then over into the next column, the Ministerial Award, the best pastor at fantasy football, is Stefan, actually, surprisingly, with a bit of an upset over Tom for the Golden Lectern Award.
Yeah, congratulations to Stefan, 96.3 points. And then, oh boy, Tom, 67.08 points, our low score for the week. One of those meltdown weeks. A lot of things not coming together for his best players. When Daniel Jones is your top scorer at 18 points, and your next highest is 8 for Michael Pittman Jr., might be having a troubling week.
Tough bye week for some of his team. I'm sure he'll bounce back.
Yeah, no Bengals.
No Bengals. And then the Brother Bowl, which I won last year, was won very handily by Mr. Buttside. You are the Golden O brother.
Yeah, it's the wide receivers carried me to victory. Top three guys put up a lot of points. The rest of the team just kind of held on, and that one was over relatively quick. But you did get I was going to say you did get a fantastic Viking game to watch while the idea of you winning in fantasy faded away.
Yeah, we watched that game together, and towards the end, when Jefferson was making ridiculous grabs, I was like, I don't even care. Let him roll over my team by himself. I do not care.
Yep, can't complain about him this week for myself.
Nope. And then the matchup between the two top teams, the Golden Snickers Award goes to Seth for unseating Libby in this rivalry, the top team. Nicely done by Seth, whose top 5 in his lineup are still looking like world beaters.
Yeah, Seth is looking real hot coming into this week. He's really the main challenge to Libby. He just took care of him this week. I said last week, if you come at the king, you best not miss. Seth did not miss. He was helped out by Libby having a kind of down week for the Dolphins offense. And then Austin Eckler finally had a down week and didn't just score his normal 20 points. So Libby falls 116 to 97.
Side note, Seth, change your profile picture. That's boring. Everybody else has got great pictures here, and then you've got the ESPN helmet. Change your profile picture, Seth. Come on.
Yeah, and you actually got to pick one, whereas I was assigned one. Um, yeah, something to look forward to for the bottom teams. So MVP performances from last week: Justin Fields,
Well,
and
they're both
Justin
Justins.
Jefferson.
Both Justins.
Yeah, yeah. Huge games. I mean, Jefferson could have had a mediocre game. I still would have beaten you. Sam did need, well, not well. Sam didn't need Fields to go off, but back to back, almost over 40-point performances. He's what we said last week. He's going to be a problem for the end of this season for teams facing Sam. Is can you stop Fields?
It's looking that way. How about a regional MVP? Let's give Aaron Jones some love for actually being like part of the Packers offense and helping Seth beat Libby. How about that?
Very true. Yep, that's probably one of the more consequential performances. Um, Dylan even had a decent game from a yard standpoint. I think he averaged more yards per carry than Jones. Obviously, he had less carries, so that helps. But I think he still had like 60 to 70 yards, just didn't hit the pay dirt like Jones does. And it does look like Jones is going to keep getting those goal line carries as long as he's putting them in over Dylan, because I don't think Dylan scored a touchdown since week 1.
No, he hasn't. That's too bad. And we can stay on the Green Bay train and move into waivers and talk about how Ross spent $27 to pick up Christian Watson, the next coming of Devontae Adams, maybe.
No, no. The next coming, the next coming of MVS. I believe there was a week last year where MVS had a similar score line. What was it? 4 catches, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't think that is something that's going to keep up. I think it'll be solid going forward. I'm in no position to talk because I spent $3 more on that on another player. I didn't see if anybody else bid on him, but I spent $30 on Cole Kmet because it has been my strategy all season to basically find good players on the worst possible NFL franchises and just exploit the crap out of them. So I've hopped from the Raiders. Hunter Renfrow off the team. I'm on the Bears train, baby.
Well, we talked a lot last week about how tight ends are so top heavy, and Cole Kmet could be a decent find. I mean, you never know. But at this point, we're nearing the end of the season, and I think most of us have some free agency money to throw around, so why not just overpay for some dudes?
Yeah, it was one of those. I think I had like $40 left around that, and I mean, there's no one else to spend money on, and you can't leave with any of it. So might as well throw it out there, see if he can grab me a touchdown or two here. I'm actually planning on starting 2 tight ends
Ooh.
for this week, just because Kirk is out of the lineup. So I had to make some adjustments, and there was no really good wide receivers to fill in. And since we have so many wide receiver slots, that makes it tough. And a starting tight end, I feel, is going to give you a higher floor than a like second or third wide receiver.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think you were mentioning it, but your matchup with Seth is going to be one to watch this week for sure, though he's projected a bit higher than you.
Yeah, about 15 points higher. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot with Kirk out of the lineup. For me, that would be Christian Kirk, not Kirk Cousins. But you can go ahead and start if you would like. I don't. Looks like Drew is going to be starting him. So congratulations on that. Who is the better Kirk is the real question. Which Kirk has more chains? I think is what we really need to figure out. I was going to mention something about towards the end of the year here, seeing a lot of Qs, a lot of red Qs next to players' names, especially for the top teams. Always a scary thing going in. ESPN is so overly ambitious about the Q versus P. Like, just give me a P if they didn't practice on Wednesday. But every single time they're like, he was held out of practice on Wednesday. That means he's questionable. And I would say most of the time they end up starting
I think
on Sunday.
that's an NFL problem because they used to have the probable tag, but then they took that away, so they only have like questionable is like the bare minimum tag they can give to somebody. So I would call that an NFL problem, but I agree because like for example, you have someone who like Justin Jefferson was held out with a toe and is questionable, but is definitely going to play. Whereas I have someone like Ezekiel Elliott or someone like Keenan Allen who's been questionable for like the past 5 weeks and just hasn't played at all. It's a big discrepancy.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of it is that Wednesday release, and then they, even if they end up practicing Thursday and Friday because of the Wednesday news, they keep the queue basically through, and then Saturday it seems is where the true kind of rubber hits the road, and you know whether or not they're going to be going on Sunday. Still makes it a little bit annoying to have to make sure on Sunday morning that your lineup is all set.
It's true. Couldn't agree more.
Um, what else do we do? What else do we do?
No, I think there's yeah, we are like there's only 8 teams to care about at this point, so there's really no reason to talk about anything else. Though I do another matchup I wanted to highlight besides yours and Seth's was Ross versus Wes, which I think is an intriguing
Yeah,
one too, because Ross, we can talk about him, but he lost Cooper Kupp to IR, so I think he's out for 4 weeks at the minimum. And so Ross could be going down in the rankings and West could be moving up potentially. So I think that's an interesting one.
yeah, and Ross did not pick up the white wide receiver that is going to replace him, Cooper Kupp, on the Rams. At least he'll be a top one in Ben Skoranek, because I picked him up. I gave everybody a chance to bid on him, and then I picked him up for free this morning. So, you know, who likes white wide receivers more, me or Ross? That's the question.
I think as a Van Jefferson owner, I am hoping that you're wrong, but he's also not in my starting lineup, so I don't really care.
Yeah, neither is Skoranek, and I don't. That's going to be the tight end debate. If Komet can't go, Skoranek's getting he's getting the starting job, and I don't like watching Rams games because they're all terrible. So that will not be on the TV on Sunday. So I'll just be rolling the old dice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that is kind of what we're looking forward to this week. Waiver wires are pretty standard. We went over the top kind of pickups from there. Thank you, Libby, for the clarification last week for that 8th position. So that 8th position is given to the bottom 5 team then with the highest points for. The 4 teams that are not in that position, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to catch up.
Yeah, I've got the numbers in front of me. It's an important thing to be thinking about. Right now, Drew is 20 or no 80 points behind Tom, who's in the 8th spot. And that's the closest gap. The rest of us, Drew could make it, but he hasn't been putting up a ton of points. So I still think that even with that clarification, these 4 teams, including me, we don't matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the hope is still there. Tom put up 60 points this week, so if that continues on, even with Burrow coming back, there's still potential there to kind of squeak in. But we'll keep that situation monitored, and hopefully we have a tight end to the season here for that 8th position. I think the top 7 are pretty locked and loaded, and I think it's going to be an awesome playoffs because I think going into the playoffs, the top 5 teams or so are all pretty evenly matched if at full strength, and I don't think there's going to be a runaway kind of winner, or runaway at least 2 that are going to face off in the championship.
Yeah, for sure. And I would lobby for, since the other rule was that the number 1 and number 2 teams get to pick their opponents, I would lobby for whoever that ends up being to come on this show and make their picks live. I think that would be fun. So whoever you are, whenever you win, let's work that out.
For sure. Yeah, that'd be great. So let's get into our power rankings, which will give us just a little bit more clarification as to where Tim and I are looking ahead going forward for these last couple weeks. So Tim, do you want to give us the first 8 through 4?
Yeah, we'll do 8 through 4. So number 8 is Tom. Like we just talked about, he put up Not a lot of points, but he had the Bengals on by. He's still in the eighth spot, and the margin for jumping out of these rankings is very large. I don't think he has a big chance of falling off, but he's at the bottom. And then right in front of him is Wes, who could be on the move if he beats Ross. Ross, in fact, is in number six. With even with winning and beating Lucas, he has to fall because of losing Cooper Cup. That's a big loss. Even having Mahomes on your team, is nice, but Cooper Cup was like a guaranteed 20 plus points a week. And then in front of Ross at number five is Lucas, who's just, I feel like he's been hanging around the middle of the pack all year long and we haven't talked about him much, but that's where he is. Number four is Sam.
Jonathan Taylor back for Lucas too.
Oh yeah, that's intriguing. So we'll see if that gives him a boost. Number four is Sam, and I feel like Luke and I have to pat ourselves on the back for last week. We put Sam in the four spot, even though his record was bad, and he delivered with a huge performance. So we're gonna keep him at this four spot, not put him up any higher yet, but he might crack the top three soon.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Justin Fields last week. We gave him, one of the MVP slots in this week's show, and the team is just strong. High score from last week. I think that puts him at 4 wins in a row.
Yeah.
He's a really tough team, and even though the record started off poorly, it's how you close the season. It's not how you start.
Yeah, that's gotta give him a lot of credit for coming back. Then in our top three, which I think I'm checking, we've had a very similar top three. This is still different from last week. Luke's in the number three spot. His wide receivers are looking strong, even with Christian Kirk on a bye. I think still deserving of a top three spot. Number two, we have Seth. Thought about giving him number one for beating Libby, but we're still keeping him strong at number two because of his team. And then Libby again for looking back, the fourth week in a row is in the top spot. He might go down depending on who he can fill his roster because Tua and Tyreek are on bye, but Libby's been dominating the league. It's crazy.
Yeah, but this is the big week for him. He's got, like you said, he's got to make adjustments. He's not going to be able to just throw that same team that he's been throwing out these last 10 weeks or so, and we're going to see if he's going to be able to overcome that one kind of rough bye week to stay there. Because if Seth wins and Libby loses, it's going to be a pretty compelling case for Seth next week.
Yeah, and that's where, like we were just talking about with the playoffs, since they're, I don't know, 3-4 weeks away, these top two spots are nice to be able to choose your opponents because anybody in this top eight, I feel like all these teams are strong in their own ways, and to be able to choose maybe somebody on a weaker week or a better suited opponent is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, Tom obviously is the weak kind of 8 team. I mean, it just happens that he's at 8, but I would imagine if the season were to end today, that Libby would choose to play Tom. I don't know who the second person would, because let's just say, for instance, I was in second place. I am currently not. I'm in fourth. I don't even know who I would pick, because it is a toss up. I would probably stay away from Sam, and probably lean towards Wes. But it's really tight in that middle, so it's going to be very interesting to see who those top 2 teams pick when that time comes.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where we're at this point in the season. We can't really talk much about trades or waiver wires anymore. Now we're kind of thinking playoffs. Playoffs.
Can't talk about playoffs.
Playoffs.
Libby, I was wrong about the trade deadline too, even though that's what it said in the league settings. But he said it was in November. It's Thanksgiving week, right?
I thought you said November 23rd, so the Wednesday before Thanksgiving next week. So
There you
if you
go.
do have trades, and if you're going to build
We'll
for
get rejected.
build for the future, maybe like me, I don't know. Maybe try to trade for a keeper for next year or a playoff run. You never know.
Yeah, and I think it's Wes, but I might not be correct about that, who has Odell Beckham Jr.
Doesn't really. Oh, that's right.
I don't know if that's true. I will double check that because we do have
He does.
time.
Yep, you are
He
correct.
does. Because I was seeing who I could potentially trade for him. I don't think Wes and I have very compatible trading rosters. But it's going to be like Seth's situation with what's his butt, the
DeAndre
wide
Hopkins.
receiver there, DeAndre Hopkins. Where if Odell happens, let's just say he goes to the Cowboys, because that's, I imagine, who's going to give him the best pitch. Best case scenario, he goes to Dallas. I think for him, he's definitely not going to the Packers. He'll step
Vikings.
out. No.
Yes.
Why would they have the white Odell Beckham Jr. His name's Adam Thielen. You just don't throw him the ball enough.
It's the older LSU connection for Justin Jefferson. I don't know. That's a stretch. We don't need him.
That's a pipe dream. Yeah. All the Giants fans are trying to court him too. Like he's going to go back to New York, which, okay.
I
right.
think you are right. The Cowboys are the best fit. They need him and he needs them.
And I do say that selfishly because I have Dak, and I would like Dak to be a top 5 quarterback to finish out the season. I mean, even a 2 interception game against the Packers, and I still think he had like 19 points. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah. And like I think that a trade for Odell, or maybe somebody making a last minute bench boost or something for a trade, could be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I don't even know who I'm going to be keeping as my keepers. A lot of the guys that I have are very expensive, so they're probably going to just go back out on the market again. But it is, especially for those bottom 4 teams, it is kind of thinking ahead to keeper season.
And you can keep none of them, which could be an option for me.
No, you have the Jets running back.
Yeah, I do. I just hate my team.
Well, pick a better one. Oh, it's all luck anyway.
True.
All right. Well, that wraps everything up. How do you feel about a in-person one next week? We could be in the same build. Oh no, you're going to be gone, aren't you?
I'm gonna be on location in Minneapolis, not at the Vikings game, but I'll be in the area.
We'll have to get that one out a little bit earlier in the week than we normally do. So we'll be coming to you on Thanksgiving week, and yeah, I think that wraps everything up. Football is always number one.
Football is life, coach.
Always got to get Ted Lasso in. Watch Atlanta. It's the best show on TV. It just finished. That is my one outside of football pitch. If football is number one, Atlanta's number 2, and the Falcons. They're one of the best teams in the NFL to not watch. The Panthers. Well, the Panthers, I don't know if you caught that electric Thursday night game last week. The Panthers versus Atlanta was just unbelievable in how incompetent 2 franchises can look at one time on the field. So looking forward to another wonderful Thursday night with the Packers in it. It's going to be real ugly, and maybe football is the number one. Maybe just watch Atlanta instead. Sponsored by FX, our podcast. Watch Atlanta. Oh, and today not sponsored by Polar because I don't have one. No, I know. We're sponsored by FX today. We got a really big sponsorship. Oh, thankfully it's not FTX, or else we'd be in a lot of trouble. Oh yeah, no crypto. But maybe because they're at 0 now, we can really push them to give us a cheap ad deal, and we will be planting those seeds. We'll be slinging that crypto to our other 10 people that potentially watch this. So a huge market for them. I mean, it's probably a bigger market than they are going to get anywhere else that they approach. Less, yeah, that's true. But somewhere. FX, give me that sweet Fox money. I will go on Fox News anytime you want, and we'll just talk about Donald Trump and Atlanta. They probably don't want to hear about the TV show Atlanta. But Yellowstone, I'm sure I could be their Yellowstone correspondent. We can talk about everything John Dutton and his platform as the new governor of Montana.
That's your pop culture couple minutes for you.
Spoiler alert for season 5, episode 1 of Yellowstone. If you did not see the fact that through 4 seasons, he eventually was going to become the governor of his state in order to protect his land, then you weren't watching correctly.
I have nothing to add to this, but you're right.
I have so much time on my hands. It's unbelievable. All right, guys. Well, there's your 20-minute conclusion that most podcasts are leaning into lately because they also don't have a lot to talk about. But again, enjoy doing this. Football is life. Fantasy football is the other life. And
it sucks and it rocks at the same time.
Even when you're bad, Tim, doesn't it still rock?
A little bit, yeah. Playoffs.
I will say I was in your position last year. It did not rock. So you can be. We'll get negative Tim at some point to come out.
Yeah, we'll do that postmortem. All right. Later.
All right. Thanks, guys.